Now, most of my patients look just like that. That's a classic patient for a Chek practitioner. That's actually one of my patients. At the end of the lecture, I'll show you what she looked like after 1 year on the program in my book, How to Eat, Move, and Be Healthy, except she got the summarized version. Quick story. This lady's from New Zealand. She's an ex-power lifter. And I'd walked into the gym where I train in New Zealand when I'm there, and I'm there quite a bit. I've done probably about 120 lectures in New Zealand. And I noticed this girl lifting weights in the gym, and she was lifting big weights. I mean, she was doing bent over rows with about 165 pounds and squatting, I think, if I remember right, 2 1/4. So she's a very strong girl, and she's about 5'4", and I think she weighs about 225, 230 pounds right there. So she's not a little woman, but she was by no means flabby. You know, she's like a farm girl, but she was carrying a lot of weight. So I just watch, you know, I see these things everywhere I go that's all around me. And I just thought, there's a girl that just needs to be taught how to eat. That's all that's wrong with this woman. She's fit, but she doesn't know how to eat. I can tell just by looking at her body. And when you're in the business as long as I've been in, I can look at anybody in the room and start telling you things that are probably wrong in your diet or your lifestyle, because that's what I do all day. Same way a mechanic can open the hood of your car and listen to your engine and say, well, you're missing on the 8th cylinder, and you got a cracked plug wire, and your distributor cap needs to be cleaned. I look at people and do the same thing. It's not a big deal. It's just what I do. Well, I looked at her and I thought, well, this girl just needs a proper diet. She needs to be metabolically typed, and she needs to get the grain and the dairy out of her diet and clean up, because she's probably got intolerances. Well, lo and behold, I booked a massage, and the next day I'm laying on the massage table and she walks in. I said, well, isn't this funny? Right? So I just kind of warmed up to her a little bit before I dropped a little Paul Chek balm on her. I said, her name's Sharon. I said, you know, Sharon, you're a lovely woman, and I was watching you train in the gym. It's very evident that you're strong. You must have a background in weightlifting or powerlifting or something. She said, yeah, I used to be a competitive powerlifter. I said, well, forgive me for asking, but are you having a hard time dropping weight? Because the way you train like a professional athlete. And it's not normal to see a woman who lifts weights like that carrying so much body weight. Are you having some kind of challenge losing weight? And she just broke down in tears, you know, so there went my massage. Which is cool, right? Remember the love principle? I had to share. She ended up finishing the massage, but so she started crying. She says, you know, Paul, she says, I've been seeing doctors for years. I've been gaining weight progressively every year for the last several years. And every time I go to the doctor, they always give me a different diagnosis than the previous doctor. She says, I'm just so frustrated, I don't know what to do anymore. She said, it's even worse. When I go to the doctor, they start telling me that the doctor that I saw was an idiot. So she says, I don't know who to trust anymore. So she says, I've gotten so stressed over this thing, I just give up. So she says, all I do is I just come and lift weights as hard as I can and hope that I'll lose some weight. But she says, I don't know what's wrong with me. I keep getting bigger, not smaller. And I said, well, it's probably your diet. She said, yeah, but I eat really good. And I said, do you? How much bread do you eat? How much cereal do you eat? How much dairy are you eating? Right? So I went down the list, and sure enough, she was eating, you know, very much like dietitians write that you should eat in a diet book. She was eating like the food pyramid. I said, well, you know, there's a reason they call that the feedlot pyramid. She said, what do you mean? I said, that's exactly how you feed cattle to make them fat. And when they sell cattle, they don't do body fat checks on them. They sell them by the pound. And as I'll show you later, there's a reason they feed cattle the way they feed them. So I said, I'll make you a deal. I will write you a program after I get off this massage table, under one condition. If you don't follow it, you have to pay me my minimum fee for writing a program, which is 1,000 New Zealand dollars. I charge $500 US an hour, and at that time the ratio was 2 New Zealand dollars for 1 American dollar. So I said, you will owe me $1,000 if I show up in New Zealand a year from now to do my next lecture series and you have not followed the program. If you can agree on that, I'll write you a program. So she said, absolutely, I'll do it. And I said, there's only one other qualifier. There's a lady in the gym here that I've trained. She can write you your exercise program because you're overtraining. You're working too hard. You're burning yourself out. your motivation is good, but the intention's actually getting the wrong results. You see, when someone trains too much, it overloads their body with stress hormones, so it has the opposite effect. The body actually thinks it's dying, so you start gaining weight and holding water. Because whenever the body's physically overloaded, it wants to prepare itself for the worst. So think about it. If you were going off into a battlefield, you'd want to carry some water with you, wouldn't you? And you'd want to carry food with you too, wouldn't you? You wouldn't just run off into the middle of a battlefield with no water and no food, because all they'd have to do is just starve you out, okay? So whenever you overwork the body, it starts carrying water and it starts carrying energy as fat. So typically you'll actually see a lot of people that overwork with their exercise programs gain weight, depending on the type of exercise they're doing. So she was happy to agree to that. I'll show you what she looked like 1 year later when I came in the gym. And it was so shocking. I said to her, "What happened?" And she started laughing. She said, "What do you mean what happened? You wrote the program." I said, "Well, to be honest with you, you're the first person I've ever written a program without charging them that followed it. That's why I charge a lot, because I want to make sure you're interested." I learned the hard way. You get what you pay for, and people don't invest, they don't take you seriously. This is a questionnaire that I use with my patients, and it covers 29 organ and glandular systems, and it gives me a readout to show me where your physiology and your psychology is under stress. I teach my students how to do a metaphysical reading on this, because each of the biological systems is connected with a psychic center. In Eastern philosophy, they're called chakras. So depending on where your body has problems, I know what kind of questions to begin asking you about your emotional and mental health. So typically the patients that Chek practitioners see are adrenally fatigued, hormonally imbalanced, can't sleep well, often depressed, dehydrated, constipated, frequently toxic, almost always they have digestive trouble, frequently hypothyroid. She was hypothyroid. They're frequently taking bags of pills, and very frequently they're tired of doctors. And it's a challenge for me because I am a multidisciplinary practitioner. So when people come to me, I'm not interested in trying to do everything myself. Totally the opposite. I farm out a lot of the work to the best people. So if you need an endocrinologist, I'll send you to the best one I know. If you need a gynecologist, I'll send you the best one I know. So I'm like an air traffic controller. People that come to see me come from all over the world with lots of chronic problems and acute problems and diseases that they've had and they can't get rid of. And what I do is I write a battle plan. I write a plan of execution. So they say, "Tell me how much money you got, tell me how much time you've got, give me a reading on your willingness meter. Who sent you here? Was it your husband or your wife or your parents or your boss? Because if they sent you here, I know you're not motivated. If you sent yourself here, good, the willingness meter is going to be high." So I write a plan, and oftentimes that plan includes other doctors. And very frequently I end up having to spend a lot of time selling my patients on the doctors. And I say, "Listen, I'm recommending the doctor to you, so I'll make you a deal. If the doctor's no good, I'll pay the bill." So far I haven't had to pay any bills. But I have to have that conversation a lot. It's very sad for me as a holistic health practitioner to see our country in the state that it's in, and to see as much medical drugs being consumed, and to see medical doctors allowing themselves to become prostitutes for drug corporations, and they know it. Because you cannot evaluate people all day long. You can't be looking in people's noses, mouths, ears, and orifices and see all the problems people have day in and day out and realize giving the drug's not changing a damn thing. So we have an illness in the medical industry, but we can't wait for it to cure itself. We have to manage ourselves so we don't have to become part of their little system.